I just keep his face on my line. It's kind of fun. It's actually quite fun. It looks fun.
To be fair, I have seen posters.
On TikTok. I want to tell them about my new one.
The new process are a bit more advanced.
Yeah, 100%. So much fun. I've actually upgraded my subscription.
It's not Netflix account.
No, it's a couple of floats. I got it and it's not like a trip.
Sorry, there's a bunny box. My dancing's not very good, I'm afraid. So, welcome to Falkirk Wheel, folks, and sunny Falkirk. It's not that. Yay! Great stuff, isn't it? Welcome aboard the anti-line vessel in Falkirk Wheel. My name's Brian. Got my name badge anyway, that's who I am. My crew member at Falkirk Wheel. Up at the back we have our crew. At the left-hand side we have Megan here. A wee wave and say hello, Megan. There you go. And at the right-hand side we have Eddie. Say hello, Eddie, and give a wave. There you go. It's like Sesame Street, isn't it? Eddie's driving the boat today, so one safe hands. He's been doing it a while. So always handy to have a driver on board the boat. I think you don't get very far without one. So we are in the lower gondola at the moment. Very shortly we'll be rotating up to the top. Did you know that was going to happen? I'm awfully glad because now you do if you didn't know beforehand. Once we get to the top and we get all clear, we move forward at a rocketing 2 miles per hour. Don't worry, we're doing 2 miles an hour coming back as well, so that's a grand total of 4. We go through the Rough Castle Tunnel, where we about turn, and at the Union Canal we make our way back to the top. It's a nice clear day now. So on the way back at the top, we'll point out some landmarks for you, hopefully see the kelpies and things as well. Okay, a couple of safety things. You know where the emergency exits are, to the centre, to the rear of the boat, either side. One at the very front and one through the door at the back there. Now, in the worst case scenario, if you do have to evacuate the boat, just take your instructions for your crew. We'll have you off nice and safely. Okay? At this point, people usually look at my life jacket and start wondering, where's mine? How have I not got one? And then they'll start looking under their seat for theirs, only to discover you don't have one. There's only 3 life jackets on board. Guess who's got them? Yes, and we're first off the boat in any case. The reason for that, folks, is we're legally obliged to wear them because we're going outside and tie up. Yourselves being inside the boat, you don't need them, okay? We are unsinkable, believe it or not. Yeah, we've heard that one before. I've seen the film, I know how it ends, yes. Unsinkable boat, I'll tell you why. It's only about 5.5 feet of water underneath, and there's almost as much boat. There's just a small gap between the bottom of the boat and the bottom of the canal. So if you were to let in water, you'll get about that much of water in the boat. All you do is lift your feet and you'll be absolutely fine. Lift your feet, your bags and your spirits and you'll be absolutely fine. Other than that, folks, I'll leave you in peace and to enjoy it. I'll speak to you in a wee while. There will be an audio commentary play as we move forward. That'll tell you about Falkirk Wheel and the history behind it. Other than that, folks, I'll leave you in peace. Thank you.
Just pasties, I think that's not.
Two rides actually. Because there were two boats, one here and one there. Where?
Just let us
Probably just let me wear it.
in the bath.
That's not going to last that long.
Yeah, you'll see when you come back.
For the next half an hour or so, we'll be up here 27 metres above our starting point on the Forth and Clyde Canal. We're now moving at 4 miles an hour over the reinforced concrete aqueduct. There's just over 100 metres between here and the tunnel, dead ahead of us. We'll go right through that and turn around before heading back and taking a look at the view that's right behind you now. You might have noticed that there are 2 tourist boats in service at the Falkirk Wheel, each with slightly strange names. Archimedes and Ant-Man. Did you see which one you are on today when you got on? Those special names were chosen for a reason. They're both important parts of the wheel's identity. First, Archimedes. He was a scholar and mathematician in ancient Greece who discovered something that's very important for the operation of the wheel.
Any floating object displaces its own weight of fluid.
Okay, that might need a bit of explanation. Archimedes' principle says that when an object is placed in water, for example the boat you are sitting in now, it displaces its exact own weight in water. The amount of water that moves out of the way to make room for us is equal in weight to the boat itself. That might sound quite simple, but it's actually really important for the smooth operation of the Falkirk Wheel. Each gondola, that's the big tub of water we just travelled up in, holds 250 tonnes of water. When our boat sailed in, we pushed about 60 tonnes of water. That is the weight of the boat and its fuel and all the people in it, out meaning that the gondola then had 190 tonnes of water and 60 tonnes of boat in it. So the contents of the gondola still weigh 250 tonnes. The clever part is that the other gondola will also weigh exactly 250 tonnes as well. We are evenly balanced with them. And that means that it only takes a tiny bit of energy to get us moving around the central core of the wheel. We're balancing each other out. So while you might think it would take a lot of energy to lift 250 tonnes of steel, water, boat and even you up the 27 metres we just came, it actually took just a small push. About the same amount of energy as boiling 8 electric kettles. That's enough for a cup of tea, each for everyone on the boat. We haven't got time for a cuppa now, but you can get one down at the visitor centre afterwards while you watch the wheel going round again. Another really clever part of the wheel are the cogs. You can't see them as they're inside the workings, but these huge jagged wheels and sensors stop us from tipping over as we move up and down around the wheel. When the designers were putting the plans for the Falkirk Wheel together, they were confident it would work on paper, but they weren't exactly sure. This is the first rotating boat lift in the world after all. So to test their theory out, they built a small-scale model out of Lego to see how it went. Fortunately, the principle worked and the design was commissioned. As we get close to the tunnel ahead, you'll note that we're in a rather charming landscape. At some times of the year, the pool to your left is home to herons. The canal system stretching across Scotland is home to over 30 varieties of aquatic plants, 15 species of mollusks, over 30 types of water flea, and even freshwater sponges, plus the ducks and swans. It's been known for fish to swim into the gondola at the bottom and travel up to the Union Canal with us. Of course, they displace their own weight too. And there are footpaths here as well, leading up into the woods. You can walk along these later if you like. Tunnel, you'll see a sign reading Rough Castle Tunnel. A castle? You can't see a castle near here. That's because we're about to travel underneath it. Well, almost. There's a Roman castle fort on the hill really quite close by. It was placed there around the year 143 AD as part of a network of military bases built by the Romans to defend the area. These forts were linked by a wall, running right the way across the width of Scotland. For a lot of its distance, this system of forts and walls follows the rough route of the Forth and Clyde Canal, linking the east and west sides of the country. Only the canals were designed to make transport and communication across the country easier. The castle forts were built by the military to control people and keep them out of the northern border of what was then the Roman Empire. Now you'll almost certainly be aware of another Roman emperor, best known for his wall in northern England. The wall above you now wasn't built by Hadrian though. It was constructed during the reign of Emperor Antoninus Pius. It's known as the Antonine Wall, and that's the name of our other boat, Antonine. Skip forward 1600 years, and this landscape, instead of being a conflict zone, was one of rapid industrial expansion. The Forth and Clyde Canal, that's the one behind us at the bottom of the lift, was started in the 1770s and followed the route originally surveyed by John Sweeten. It opened in 1790 and quickly became one of the most important trading and transport links across Scotland. It was the world's first sea-to-sea ship canal, joining the River Clyde and Glasgow in the west to the River Forth and the North Sea in the east. And the addition of the Union Canal, that's the one we're sailing on now, in 1822 meant Glasgow and Edinburgh were linked by waterways. This all meant that unprecedented amounts of trade were now possible, not only between Glasgow and Edinburgh, but also with the rest of Northern Europe and the world. In the 1830s, 200,000 people each year travelled between the two cities. One operator offered
The express service in just 7 hours on swift passenger boats.
There was, apparently, a sign projecting from the front of the boat that would cut through the tow ropes of any slow-moving vessels that refused to give way. Getting between the two canals still required the use of a lock system though. A few kilometres to the east of here, there was a flight of 11 canal locks with a fall of just over 3 metres each. Each had to fill with water in turn to raise traffic up to the Union Canal so it could travel on to Edinburgh. For a time, this was the golden age of the canal, and waterways were almost the motorways of the day, travel on to Edinburgh. For a time, this was the golden age of the canal, and waterways were almost the motorways of the day. But with the rise of the railways, the decline of the canals was almost inevitable. The closing of Grangemouth docks to the east of here as a security measure during the First World War heralded the start of the end, and by the 1960s the canals were left abandoned, unused and falling into disrepair. As we emerge out of the tunnel, you'll notice that we're in a much different landscape now. More intimate, and certainly not quite such grand views as on the other side. When we've turned around and gone back through the tunnel, you'll appreciate the views from there, looking out over central Scotland from a scenic vantage point. But for a moment, enjoy the canal side setting. The land around here is stunning and ready for exploration, if you're so inclined. From the visitor centre, there are 3 walks of different lengths exploring this area, including the remains of the Roman fort and the Antonine Wall. Ask for a map in the visitor centre, or you can hire bikes and make your way 6 kilometres east along the canal path to see the Kelpies. 2 majestic 30-metre high sculptures of horse heads rising out of the water. These Celtic water horses are not only a link with the mystical mythology of Scotland, but are also a reminder of the vast numbers of horses who worked on the canals pulling barges for years on end. Today we run our boats on diesel. Compared to days gone by, it means there's no horse waste left by the side of the canal towpath anymore. And we can now travel faster and in almost all weathers too. locks here. These take boats to the main level of the Union Canal, another 7 metres up, making the total height above our starting point 35 metres. This then runs as far as Edinburgh, which, if you were to sail there today, would take about 9 or 10 hours. But most people on a pleasure cruise do it over a couple of days. In fact, these locks were installed as part of the renovations to the canal system and the installation of the Falkirk Wheel. The original Union Canal ended some 2 kilometres further on from here, where the flight of 11 locks carried canal traffic up and down between here and the Forth and Clyde Canal below. And from that level, 2 locks up from here, the Union Canal stretches all the way to Edinburgh without a single lock. It's a feat of engineering and construction, laid out by the canal's designer Hugh Baird in the 1820s. Despite the canal from Falkirk to Edinburgh being over 50 kilometres long, there is a fall of just 2.5 centimetres between either end, all designed without a computer. It's important to remember that we're on part of a canal network that stretches right across Scotland. And in recent years it's been growing in popularity, thanks in part to projects like the Falkirk Wheel. But there's also been a rise in the appetite from the public for enjoying our historic waterways. There are 22 million visits a year to our canals, with people enjoying the towpaths, walkers, joggers and cyclists alike. On the water, people enjoy canoeing and kayaking, and canal boat holidays are increasingly popular.
Welcome on board.
It can be great fun to charter a boat and explore the canals. Navigating up and down the locks is a little tricky at first, though you'll soon get the hang of it. But a canal boat holiday can also be very relaxing. The gentle pace of the boats means you can switch off from the pressures of modern life and slow right down. The body that cares for these waterways is called Scottish Canals, an agency of the Scottish Government. Any profit we make from activities on the canals, we put right back into caring for the system. It's our aim to make sure the canals are still here and being enjoyed by people in another 200 years. The tunnel in front of you now, you'll remember it runs under the Antonine Wall, is another part of what makes this place special. It might look just like any other tunnel, but it had to be excavated with utmost care so as not to disturb the archaeological remains above. And it has a concrete base so as not to damage the old mine workings beneath. It's precision engineering. But the real precision work is on the Falkirk Wheel itself, a feat of engineering and architectural design. It was the first rotating boatman to be built in the world, bringing the story of Scottish invention, adventure and world first right up to date. The sense of ambition and pride felt by the design team matches that of those engineers and canal builders a few centuries ago. While many see the wheel as a beautiful thing, it's often questioned whether its merits are as a piece of art or as a piece of engineering. Tony Kittle, the designer of the Falkirk Wheel, perhaps puts it best.
We came up with a practical, physical solution to the problem of how to link the two canals together. But we were driven by both the practical and the aesthetic. We wanted to create something sculptural that would give a sense of movement and rotation. Our wheel has some of the enduring qualities of a timepiece: precision engineering and intrinsic beauty, metal curves and movement in one composition.
why we went to the trouble of creating the Falkirk Wheel. You'll remember that the two canals had fallen into a state of disrepair in the late 20th century, and they weren't used for transporting goods or people anymore. It might have been easier just to fill the canals in and forget about them altogether. But then, in the late 1990s, it was realised that the redevelopment of these waterways could create what became known as a corridor of opportunity right across the central belt of Scotland. And there were plenty of enthusiastic volunteers too, who wanted to see their local canal brought back to life, rather than sitting there abandoned. The Millennium Link project saw these canals repaired and reopened, and at £84 million was Britain's most ambitious canal restoration project ever. In just 3 years, waterways were dredged, including removing 300,000 tonnes of silt, locks were replaced, 9 new locks built, and towpaths restored. There were also 35 new bridges and 5 kilometres of new canal. And it's been a huge success. Canal side investment has gone through the roof, over £400 million in the first decade alone, including 2,000 new waterside homes and 100,000 square metres of retail and commercial development. And very importantly for this region, 4,000 new jobs, all from a couple of canals. It's amazing to think what that kind of investment can do. But it wasn't possible to reopen the locks joining these two canals. They were filled in and now had blocks of flats built on them. So a new solution was needed, hence the Falkirk Wheel. Not only does it link the two waterways, but it gives us a chance to celebrate Scottish design and ingenuity once again. Okay, as we're coming towards the end of our time on this level, I just have time to share some of the facts and figures of the Falkirk Wheel. It was opened in May 2002 by Her Majesty the Queen, although she never actually rode it like you have today. There are 15,000 bolts in the structure, pressed into 45,000 bolt ropes, and each one was tightened by hand. The two gondolas between them hold 1 million litres of water and can lift the weight of 100 elephants. And it does all that in just 5 minutes, using the power of a few electric kettles. Amazing, isn't it? If you were thinking of getting one for yourself, do be aware that the price tag comes at a whopping £20 million. We're heading back into the gondola now, so that we can rotate back down to the lower level, 25 metres below. This is a great place to take in the view if the Scottish weather has been kind to us today. You should be able to make out the Kelpies, Grangemouth and the cranes at the Firth of Forth, along with the Ochil Hills and various other ranges. Your skipper might point some of these out to you as you descend. As we come to the end of this boat tour, it's impressive to think that the Falkirk Wheel wasn't actually built as a tourist attraction. There was no visitor centre here originally, and boat trips like these didn't take place. But people came to visit the wheel out of their own curiosity. They came from all over the world to wonder at this architectural and engineering gem. So we started running boat trips, and the Falkirk Wheel has gone from strength to strength. And now you visited too, and ridden this unique part of the Scottish landscape. Perhaps we should leave the last word for the time being to the wheel's designer, Tony Kettle.
The Falkirk Wheel appears to lift its head and take stock of its Scottish surroundings. It stands up proud and bold, emerging from the land as the skeletal frame of a long-lost prehistoric animal. It sits on a spine that connects the east and west coast of Scotland and says, "Scotland is whole once more." The wheel reverberates with the strength and passion, the vision and the imagination that have underpinned the very best of Scottish culture since the 1700s. And, more importantly, it stands as one monument, celebrating the past, but also what may be possible in the future.
Thumbs up if you enjoyed it. 7. That'll do. Okay, welcome back. Right, there we are. So some of you have seen the kelpies. Have you all seen the kelpies, or is some of you still yet to see them? I'll point out them for you, just so you know where they are. So right, don't all run to that side of the boat, by the way. Right, so in amongst the houses there's a shop with a green front that's got some white writing on it. You see that? Okay. Right, well the kelpies are nowhere near there. However, if you manage to find that shop, take your eye line directly above and right at the tree line, you see the two silver and grey objects there, right at the tree. That's the kelpies there. They're a bit dull at the moment because the sun's not quite coming up. There we are. If you've got a phone or a camera, you can zoom in, you'll get a better look at them. There we go. So they are, anybody visited the kelpies? You have?
No, above the green shop, above the trees, so directly above the green shop. Two just silver objects, I don't like just
They're 30 metres tall, 300 tons each. It only took 90 days to construct. So obviously it wasn't your fault, it was the council involved because it's still be there today. There we go. They're very significant. Under the flats, that's where the living logs are buried. They used to join the two canals many years ago. The Forth and Clyde Canal at the bottom, the Union Canal at the top. The logs are under the flats to this day. They're all buried there. I've done for a full house. So yeah, the logs are there to this day, and it would take over 6 hours to get through the logs just to join the two canals. We've joined the two of them in a fraction of the time, so there's a big difference. And they used to lose a lot of water, gallons and gallons of water there to pump in from the reservoirs, whereas where we are, all the water is contained within the area, so we don't waste any water whatsoever. Okay, over at the front there. Don't move, don't move. Over at the front we have the Ochils or Ochill Hills. And the Ochill Hills, obviously in a day like this, people like going over there for a walk and you get a good view, a good part of central Scotland over there. Now there are a couple of optical illusions with the Falkirk Wheel. I don't know if anybody noticed, on the way up, if you look straight ahead, it appears as if the boat's moving back the way. I can point, you spotted it, did you? And there's another optical illusion. If you look at the front of the wheel there, at the left-hand side, see the orange rim there? You can see by the direction it's going, clearly we're moving down. But if you look at the right-hand side, as if by magic, it appears as if you're going up. There you go. Obviously we're stationary, it's just because the wheel's going round about, it depends what side you look at, it gives that illusion. And there we are. Now, you've heard the Archimedes principle, you would have heard that in the audio there. Now, the other gondola is completely empty at the moment, apart from the water obviously, and we've got one boat here, but it weighs exactly the same, because whatever weight comes into the gondola, that amount of mass of water gets pushed out. Sometimes we have two boats here, because we have a lot of holiday hire boats, people hire the boats that might go to Edinburgh, spend a week doing that. But another gondola might be empty, it's still the same weight. It's 250 tons either way. Here we are. The key factor of that is the levels of the water. The water levels here is going to be pretty much the same in either gondola. And sometimes I'll have to pump water out just to make it level, so it's quite efficient. It's very quiet, very silent, given the size and the weight. There's about 1,800 tons of steel and water moving at the moment. It's still very silent because it's so well balanced, as you can imagine it has to be. A good part of the wheel was built down in Ripley in Derbyshire. It took 35 lorries to get up here a bit at a time. So there you go. Now, you see the fin that's at the top of the wheel there, just at the gondola, that fin that's coming up here. What I've heard, if you're over in Stirling direction and you look here at the right point where that fin is going forward and it's going the other way, kind of looks like a giant shark diving into the water. That's what people are saying anyway. And there's nothing in the fins whatsoever, it's completely empty. It's more for aesthetics than anything, a bit more pleasing looks rather than just two rings at either end. Any questions, anybody? Good point. Can private boats go on here? Yes, you can. And believe it or not, it doesn't cost anything. If you've got your own boat and you bring on your wheel, so the Scots don't charge for everything. There you go. So yes, you can bring it on. You just need an inland waterway licence, so you go online for that. It's a bit like your road tax, so for the year you pay for it. We can get, beside us, we can get up to another 2 boats beside us, but usually it's just another 1 boat. Depends on the width of the boat. Most of the boats, the canal boats, can fit in alongside us here. But there's a company called the Seagull Trust, and they're a charity. They do a lot of care homes, people with disabilities, and they can't fit in amongst us and beside us, so they tend to they're on their own. But yes, you can actually come here with your own boat if you want. We do have a lot of holiday hire boats as well, so it's not just for tourism. People actually use the wheel to get from A to B or go over there and to Edinburgh, it's about 30 miles away that way. We've been here 20 years now, 24th of May 2002, it was owned by the Queen. She never actually came onto the boat, a couple of reasons for that. There's some issues around security. And they're saying, what if there's a sniper? You know, the Queen's on the boat and all the rest of it. Obviously, I know it's Falkirk and they could have snipers, that's a different story. But the other issue was, what if the wheel breaks down and the Queen's on it? You're going to have to get a fireman's lift off the boat. So, just the image of it. But she never actually came onto it because in case the wheel breaks down in mid-cycle. The good news is the wheel never breaks down in mid-cycle because of over 200 computerised checks before it even goes. It's got to tick yes to every single one. So the boat won't go, or the wheel won't go I should say, unless all the checks are complete. The weather can have a factor on the wheel. If the wind is about 40 miles an hour for 5 minutes consistently, the alarms go. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
And then leave that and just take a 10-minute dip in the pool before dinner. Yes, yes. And keep the connection.